Welcome to Vondervotteimittiss, where time stands still, sort of. Hey there, folks. Stephen Colbert here, your guide to the weird and wonderful world of Edgar Allan Poe. Buckle up, because today we're diving into the curious case of Vondervotteimittiss, a story about a town that's stuck in a time warp. And no, I don't mean a cool dance move from the 80s. Vondervotteimittiss is as quaint and quirky as a town can get. Nestled in a secluded valley, it's like time took a little nap. The townsfolk live a simple life, ruled by the rhythm of their beloved clock. Speaking of the clock, it's not your average timekeeper. This thing is massive, ancient, and the heart and soul of Vondervotteimittiss. Life here is predictable, orderly, and a tad obsessed with time. But hey, who needs smartphones when you have a giant clock telling you when to eat, sleep, and dance the Vondervotteimittiss waltz? Don't worry, I'll teach you the steps later. It involves a lot of synchronized sneezing. Now you might be thinking, Stephen, this sounds delightful. Where do I sign up for this time-traveling adventure? Hold your horses, folks. Things are about to get strange. Because in Vondervotteimittiss, change is a-comin', and it's not pretty. Let's talk about these Vondervotteimittians, shall we? They're an eccentric bunch, with their noses always in a sundial or their ears pressed against an hourglass. Time isn't just a concept here, it's practically a religion. The men, with their puffy trousers and meticulously waxed mustaches, spend their days discussing the intricacies of clockwork. The women, adorned in voluminous skirts and bonnets adorned with miniature clocks, gossip about who's running a minute late. And the children? Well, they play hopscotch with numbers on the sidewalk, naturally. Every hour, on the dot, the town erupts in a synchronized frenzy of activity. At noon, it's a mad dash for the best tulip bulbs in the market. At 3, it's time for the daily cheese rolling competition. Don't ask. And at 8 sharp, everyone gathers in the square for the Vondervotteimittiss waltz. A dance so precisely timed, it would make a Swiss watchmaker weep with envy. Yes, life in Vondervotteimittiss is orderly, predictable, and maybe a little bit bonkers. But hey, who are we to judge? They like their routines, their giant clock, and their synchronized sneezing. But as they say, all good things must come to an end. Or in this case, all predictable things must be disrupted by a very strange visitor. Picture this. A dusty traveler arrives on the outskirts of Vondervotteimittiss. He's tall, scruffy, and sporting a rather unsettling grin. This, my friends, is not your average tourist looking for a souvenir cuckoo clock. The townsfolk are immediately suspicious. This stranger isn't wearing the regulation puffy trousers. His pocket watch is a minute fast. And worst of all, he seems to have no regard for their beloved clock tower. He even has the audacity to call it a bit much. The nerve! This mysterious outsider, with his disregard for tradition and his questionable timekeeping, throws Vondervotteimittiss into a tizzy. Whispers of radical and troublemaker follow him through the cobblestone streets. The town elders convene emergency meetings, their faces grim beneath their powdered wigs. Little do they know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Our stranger friend is about to unleash a horological havoc that will rock Vondervotteimittiss to its core. And it all starts with the fateful stroke of 13. Remember that giant clock, the one that dictates every aspect of life in Vondervotteimittiss? Well, get ready for a time-bending twist, because when that clock strikes 13, all heck breaks loose. The townsfolk, accustomed to the clock's 12-hour cycle, are utterly bewildered. Their carefully ordered world crumbles faster than a day-old strudel. The men forget how to wind their pocket watches. The women drop their teacups in synchronized horror. And the children? Well, they continue playing hopscotch, oblivious to the impending temporal chaos. The stranger, meanwhile, revels in the chaos. He dances through the streets, laughing maniacally as the very fabric of time seems to unravel. Is he a madman, a time traveler, or just a guy who really hates clocks? Poe, as always, leaves us guessing. But here's the thing about chaos, folks. It's a catalyst for change. And as the clock continues its discordant chime, the people of Vondervotteimittiss are forced to confront a terrifying possibility. Maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than following the clock. Section 5. Time, Tradition, and Change. What's it all mean? Okay, so we've got a town obsessed with time, a mysterious stranger who throws everything into chaos, and a clock that's gone rogue. What's the point, you ask? Well, my friends, that's where Poe's genius shines through. The curious case of Vondervotteimittiss is more than just a wacky tale about a clock gone wild. It's a story about the clash between tradition and change, the fear of the unknown, and the relentless march of time. The townsfolk, with their rigid routines and unwavering devotion to the clock, represent a society clinging to the familiar. They fear change, even if it means living in a state of perpetual sameness. The stranger, on the other hand, embodies the disruptive force of progress, challenging the status quo and forcing everyone to question their assumptions. And then there's the clock itself, a powerful symbol of time's unstoppable passage. No matter how much we try to control it, to measure it, to bend it to our will, time marches on. It's a sobering thought, but also an oddly liberating one. Because if time is fluid, if change is inevitable, then maybe, just maybe, we have the power to shape our own destinies. Section 6. Poe's Genius, a Master of the Macabre. Now, you can't talk about Edgar Allan Poe without acknowledging his penchant for the macabre. The man loved a good dose of darkness, a dash of the grotesque, and a sprinkle of psychological torment. But Poe was more than just a master of the spooky and strange. He was a literary genius who used his dark imagination to explore the depths of the human psyche. In the Curious Case of Vondervotteimittiss, Poe tackles themes of societal conformity, the fear of the unknown, and the illusion of control. He does it with his signature blend of suspense, satire, and psychological insight, creating a story that's both entertaining and thought-provoking. Poe's writing is like a roller coaster ride through a haunted house. It's thrilling, chilling, and just a little bit unhinged. He had a knack for tapping into our deepest fears and anxieties, making us question the world around us and the monsters that might lurk within. But don't let the darkness fool you, folks. Poe also had a wicked sense of humor. He loved to poke fun at societal norms, to expose the absurdity of human behavior, and to make us laugh at our own fears. Section 7. The Power of Symbolism, Clocks, Tulips, and more. Poe was a master of symbolism, and the Curious Case of Vondervotteimittiss is chock full of it. Let's break down some of the key symbols, shall we? The clock. This one's a no-brainer. The clock represents time, order, and the relentless march of progress. It's also a symbol of the town's rigid adherence to tradition and their fear of change. The stranger, our mysterious visitor, represents the disruptive force of change, the unknown, and the challenge to the status quo. He's a catalyst for chaos, but also for growth and transformation. Tulips, yes, even the tulips have a deeper meaning. They represent the town's obsession with beauty and perfection, but also their fragility and susceptibility to change. The number 13. 13 is often associated with bad luck, and in this case it represents the disruption of order, the breaking of tradition, and the unknown possibilities that lie beyond the familiar. By using these symbols, Poe adds layers of meaning to his story, inviting us to look beyond the surface and delve into the deeper themes at play. Section 8. Humor in the dark. Poe's not always so serious. Now I know what you're thinking, Stephen, this Poe guy sounds like a real barrel of laughs. And you know what, you're right. While Poe is known for his dark and macabre tales, he also had a surprisingly sharp wit and a knack for satire. In the Curious Case of Vondervotteimittiss, Poe uses humor to highlight the absurdity of the town's obsession with time and their fear of change. From the townsfolk's ridiculous attire to their synchronized routines, Poe pokes fun at societal norms and the human tendency to cling to the familiar, even when it's nonsensical. Poe's humor isn't always laugh-out-loud funny. It's often subtle, ironic, and a little bit twisted. But it's there, lurking beneath the surface of his dark tales, reminding us that even in the face of fear and uncertainty, there's always room for a little bit of laughter. Section 9. Vondervotteimittiss, today a timeless tale. So, what does the Curious Case of Vondervotteimittiss have to say to us today, in the year 2024? Well, folks, I'm glad you asked. Because this story, written way back in 1845, is surprisingly relevant to our modern world. We live in a time of rapid change and technological advancement. The world is spinning faster than ever, and it can feel like we're constantly playing catch-up. It's easy to become overwhelmed, to cling to the familiar, to resist the unknown. But just like the townsfolk of Vondervotteimittiss, we have a choice to make. We can either cling to the past, fearing the inevitable march of progress, or we can embrace the unknown, adapt to change, and shape our own destinies. Poe's story reminds us that change is a natural part of life, and that even though it can be scary, it can also be an opportunity for growth, innovation, and a whole lot of time-bending shenanigans. Section 10. Why we love Poe thrills, chills, and food for thought. So why do we still read Edgar Allan Poe today, over 170 years after his death? Well, folks, it's simple. Poe was a master storyteller who knew how to tap into our deepest fears and desires. He gave us thrills, chills, and a whole lot of food for thought. Poe's stories are timeless because they explore universal themes that resonate with us on a human level. Love, loss, fear, guilt, revenge, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. He had a knack for exposing the darkness that lurks within us all, but also for reminding us of the beauty and resilience of the human spirit. Poe's writing is like a dark and delicious elixir, both intoxicating and unsettling. It's the literary equivalent of a haunted house on Halloween night. Scary, thrilling, and utterly unforgettable. Section 11. So what did we learn? Well, folks, that's our whirlwind tour of the curious case of Vondervotteimittiss and the brilliant mind of Edgar Allan Poe. We've explored a town obsessed with time, a mysterious stranger who throws everything into chaos, and a clock that's gone rogue. But more importantly, we've delved into the deeper themes of tradition versus change, the fear of the unknown, and the relentless march of time. We've laughed at Poe's satirical wit, marveled at his masterful use of symbolism, and contemplated the timeless relevance of his stories. So the next time you're feeling stuck in a rut, afraid of change, or just in need of a good scare, pick up a copy of Poe. You won't be disappointed. And hey, maybe you'll even learn a thing or two about clocks, tulips, and the importance of embracing the unknown. Until next time, folks, stay curious, stay spooky, and never trust a clock that strikes 13.